Welcome to Rapid Reactions. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by Gerry Hamilton. Texas ekes out a victory 16-13 in overtime over the Kentucky Wildcats. It was far from pretty, Gerry Hamilton. This episode brought to you by LoweyLawFirm.com. Gerry, when I say far from pretty, the worst offensive output of Steve Sarkisian's tenure in Austin, it was brutally bad. Somehow, some way, Texas wins after only gaining 8 first downs the entire game. The offense stunk it up, Gerry, but Texas won. What were your initial thoughts on this offense?
I mean, I don't even know what to say. I mean, if you could, I know we have fun with predictions and everything, but nobody would have ever predicted 172 yards in 4 quarters against Kentucky. 172 yards of offense in 4 quarters against Kentucky. To put that in perspective, in the 3 SEC losses before this game, Kentucky was giving up 193 yards rushing per game. That's the Ole Miss who had 220, South Carolina 178, and Georgia 180. So Texas had 172 yards in 4 quarters, 179 counting the overtime, 8 first downs, 5 of 6. I mean, there's literally nothing they didn't. You know, the other 3 teams that have beat Kentucky all had over 40 rushing attempts. Texas had 28 counting sacks and Arch Manning rushing attempts. So 20 giving up 40 minutes essentially a time of possession. The Texas defense was on the field for 85 plus plays, but found a way to have the 4th down stop in overtime to allow Mason Shipley to win the game. But offensively, it's the worst. It's easily the worst I've seen at Texas under Sark.
One of the best quotes I got from a friend last night, Gerry, was this. He goes, we're going to overtime. The bad news is there are no punt returns in overtime.
Yes.
So Ryan Niblett did show up for the Longhorns in this one. It was a 2 big-time punt returns. Texas scored 10 points. 10 of their 13 points came off of punt returns. The other one came on another field goal came on another drive where they had no first downs, and that was in the overtime. So, look, it was a putrid, bad, any way you slice it, offensive performance. Why do you think it was bad? Was it because they didn't stick with the run? Is it personnel? Is it Arch Manning? Is it Steve Sarkisian in play calling? What is it that you feel?
When it's this bad, it's all the above. You can't point to one area. I mean, look, there's some people say, well, and I'm not agreeing or disagreeing. I'm just putting this into in context here. Some people say Sark should have forced the run, didn't stick with the run. Everybody else should run on Kentucky. That's kind of where I come out. Then we had UTEP Arch for about 2 quarters of this game. I mean, where he just couldn't hit anything. And passes that you have to make weren't even close. And they were big plays that were missed, like game-changing and momentum-changing plays, right? Then there was times where offensive line missed assignments, right? I mean, there were times where a wide receiver didn't come back to the football maybe. Perimeter blocking wasn't great. When it's this bad, it's a lot of things. It doesn't just fall on one player or one thing. That's the only way I can explain it the best I can. Is it's not about one player, it's not about one position, it's about everything when it's this bad, especially against a team who is not good defensively this season. They didn't find it in an off week, Bobby. No chance.
Yeah, the only thing that you could say is, hey, they had fresh legs, whereas Texas did not. And the other issue is the run game. Trey Wisner used so heavily a week ago in Dallas, and then going on the road, not really having his legs. I think he had 12 total carries for the game. Texas did not push the run game at all. Christian Clark only had 3 carries as well. So 15 rushes from the running backs plus 1 from Ryan Niblett. To your point, Gerry, not enough. Meanwhile, the defense did yeoman's work, holding Kentucky to 13 points in regular period, but also that big goal line stand in the overtime. We'll talk a little bit about them in just a minute. But first, I need to tell you guys and tell Adam Lowy thank you for his sponsorship of Rapid Reactions each and every week. If you've been injured in a car wreck, truck wreck, automobile accident of any kind, from ATV to 18-wheeler, make sure you check out Adam and his firm, LowyLawFirm.com. He's a Texas Law School grad. Adam is there for you and your family in time of need. Again, LowyLawFirm.com. Jerry, we mentioned the defense. It was a bend but don't break kind of game for the Longhorns. Cutter Boley had a good game for Kentucky, but everything was in front of Texas. They made him drive the length of the field, and you know what? PK is there was a method to the madness that eventually paid off in overtime with the big fourth down stop.
Colin Simmons came up big last night for Texas. 3 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, especially when they needed it. I thought Trey Moore had a really good game last night, despite that big offsides that was costly at one point in the game. Anthony Hill had 12 tackles last night and the INT. The one play he'd like to have back, he would have wanted to fall on that fumble. Obviously, there's some other plays you're never going to play clean and perfect all the time, but he played well. Michael Taff and Jelani McDonald combined for 19 tackles last night. I did not like that Jelani McDonald went to the fadeaway jumper in a 10-10 game with 3 minutes to go. I think those are things that tell me a little bit where this team is at mentally versus where they should be. Which is kind of some things that popped up this year. But defensively, Grayson Littleton had his moments again. Hero Canoe had his moments. Travis Shaw came back from a really hard hit and knee to his head that make a big play against the run in overtime. I mean, Travis Shaw even had his moments. So this Texas defense Saturday night, they played well considering, and people look at the stats, they gave him 395 yards to Kentucky, and nobody else had really done that of the SEC teams. And I get it, but Texas was on the field for over 80 plays last night, and the offense had 8 first downs. I mean, eventually in those scenarios, somebody's going to score points against you. And that happened in the fourth quarter because the offense just couldn't hold up their end of the bargain and possess the football at all.
I completely agree. The offense gave the defense problems. Both offenses gave the defense. Texas's offense and Kentucky's offense gave Texas's defense a problem. Right. The thing that I would think back to and wonder is, does Texas give opponents too much life by playing, a little bit of with a soft underbelly and making a team move the ball the entire length of the field? Because if you think about it, that is okay if it works, but it also puts your offense in a bad position because they don't get as many possessions.
Yeah.
They don't get a chance to really get going early. Well, it's just a choice made by the coaches. One thing I will say is this game is not a win if Texas doesn't get what they got in the in special teams, Jerry. Ryan Niblett with 2 big punt returns, setting up one touchdown and a field goal. And then also Mason Shipley nailing 3 kicks, all 3 attempts, one from 50 plus, and then the 2, one with a minute left in the game, and then one in overtime right down the middle. Just tremendous effort overall there. The punting game, Jack Boomeister had 6 punts down inside the 20-yard line on Saturday night. There's no question in my mind, I'm sure yours, that special teams won this game for the Longhorns.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And, look, kudos to Ryan Niblett because, even that first return, he fielded that ball. And I'm not sure in Ohio State game he fields that ball. His confidence has grown because that was a catch that was kind of a contested catch. He had to make somebody miss in short space. So, Ryan Niblett was the MVP of this game. And if not him, it would have been Mason Shipley was the MVP of this game. Now you feel like you're back to the Michael Dixon MVP years, which is not where you want to be, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the games where Michael Dixon was the MVP, that's not where you want to be. But the special teams came through last night for Texas when they absolutely had to have it because there are not – I can't imagine how many games you could find in the SEC over the years where the visiting team had 8 first downs and won a football game.
I can't believe it. I mean, I was
I mean,
talking about
maybe one out of 100, 1 out of 100 in that scenario, maybe less.
26-8 in first downs, 390 plus yards to 160. Just ridiculous in so many ways. And that's what I want to bring up next and talk to you about, Jerry. In the post-game show with Rod Babers and Brian Robeson, I was talking about this. It's like everything that they learned against OU and that Sark learned against OU, we thought, went out the window against Kentucky. Instead of trying to move and possess the ball and put their offense in plus yardage plays, it felt a lot less pointed or structured. Not as much run game, obviously, but not as many short passes either. I felt like it was back to big game hunting for Sarkisian and his play calling. Maybe it was him. Maybe it was Art making checks at the line. I'm not sure. But what were your thoughts overall about the game plan in that scenario based on what we saw last week being so successful against OU?
Yeah, no, I didn't make sense to me because, and here's why it didn't make sense to me, because everybody else had run the football on Kentucky this year. I mean, I can go through the numbers. Kentucky hadn't given up. I mean, Eastern Michigan had 460 yards against Kentucky of offense. Everybody's run the football, and the 3 SEC opponents again. Ole Miss with Austin Simmons ran for 220. South Carolina ran for 178, and their offensive line's terrible. Has been all year. And Georgia went for 180. And their offensive line's been banged up too, right? They're really talented, but they've been banged up. So teams that haven't run the ball well on people or had injuries or offensive line issues still had success against Kentucky running the football. And I think that's the thing that knowing that, and a lot of Texas fans knew that going into the game, that's where they got perplexed, especially coming off the Oklahoma game, how Texas won that football game and took control of that football game through running the football and special teams, which also made life easier for Arch and the Texas offensive line. Because where Texas is really bad as an offense, like really bad as an offense, is in third and longs this year.
Yeah.
Now, whether it's offensive line or Arch, a lack of accuracy on throws.
Or receivers not getting open.
It's a disaster on third and long for this team offensively. And so any game you go into not trying to get to third and short or medium feels like a failure to me.
Yeah. Kind of a microcosm of this game in many ways from an offensive standpoint was the very first series of the second half. They get an 8-yard run from Trey Wisner, and then on second and third down can't convert a first down to start the second half after getting a good positive play. So to my thinking, Jerry, and just I felt like it was just not a good game plan, not good execution. It was a offensive. It was nothing more than offensive misery watching that. It was like they were stuck in mud and couldn't go anywhere. Thankfully, they come out with the win over a team that was winless and has been winless for more than a year in SEC play. I made mention of this last night. This easily could have been Steve Sarkisian's Kansas moment in 2022.
Yeah.
Correct? I mean, you and I both are 2021, I guess it was.
Yeah.
My point being, this was that kind of game. Kentucky's not a good football team. No. Thankfully, the Longhorns emerged with a victory 16-13 over the Kentucky Wildcats. Jerry, the other question I had for you is where do we go from here? Texas goes to Starkville next week. Jeff Levy has shown that he has an offense that can give Pete Kwiatkowski some trouble.
Yeah.
When he was at Oklahoma, he certainly did that. Even against Texas last year, early in that game, Mississippi State kept it close. What's the game plan this week? Does Texas have to change back its offense to be more deliberate like they were against OU? You know, where do we go from here?
Look, I mean, Mississippi State, I know they just lost a heartbreaker last night to Florida, 23-21. But they went in and got 470 yards of offense without the stud running back Bothwell. He missed that game. I don't know if he's going to play against Texas. That'll be interesting to see. But again, they went into Florida where Texas had trouble moving the football against the Florida defense. It's pretty good. And they went for 370 yards. And, Blake Shapen had the one interception in that game, but even the number 2 running back for Mississippi State went 22 carries for 105 yards in that game last night with Bothwell out. They ran the ball against Florida when Texas could not. And so when you look at that, and then they have the speed receivers, Brennan Thompson, the one-time Texas signee, and Anthony Evans from Converse Judson, the Georgia transfer. They have 2 speedsters on the outside. But again, the thing about a game on the road at Mississippi State is while they're 0-3 in SEC play, they're a much better team than they were a year ago. These guys actually believe they can win this year. Their losses, they beat Arizona State earlier this year at home, but their losses are Tennessee by 7. Now they got smoked at A&M, and then Florida by 2. So Florida on the road, Tennessee at home, late that game, an overtime game. So, if you look at it, this is a team that believes they can win. And they believe they can win physically running the football in Jeff Lebby's offense. So, yeah, this is a game where, look, my concern for Texas, Bobby, is twofold. If you can't run the football on the road in the SEC, you don't have a lot of chance of success. And if your quarterback misses easy throws on the road, that doubles up the issue. Your odds to win games go way down. Kentucky is the worst team Texas will play the rest of the season, by far.
Yeah, especially now that Arkansas is moving the ball up and down the field with their offense. I would agree with that. Look, the game against Mississippi State will be interesting because you need to start capitalizing. I think Texas caused 4 or 5 fumbles last night, did not recover a single one of them. They made plays on special teams. Sure, they made plays when it counted on defense, in particular that 4th down stop, but it was far from a complete game. And they're going to need that the rest of the way if they have true postseason hopes. I think that people are putting aside postseason hopes right now, some of them, and they just want to see more consistency from this Texas team, particularly or especially on offense. Again, Texas not a very good team on offense right now, and certainly didn't put a performance out there very good last night. All right, Jerry, that's going to do it for Rapid Reactions. We'll have more later today, second watch with Rod Babers, as well as our grades. I can't wait to hear Coach Shipley talk about that a little bit later. Thanks again to our sponsor, Adam Lowy over at the Lowy Law Firm. If you've been injured in a car wreck, truck wreck, automobile accident of any kind and think you might be due compensation, make sure you reach out to Adam and his team at LowyLawFirm.com. Tell them Bobby, Burton, and On Texas Football sent you. We appreciate you very much, Adam. All right, Jerry, any final thoughts before we let folks go?
No, look, it's that was dismal. I don't know. It's almost borderline unacceptable offense at the University of Texas. So I don't know what else to say other than if, again, this is 2 times in a row on the road in SEC where Texas did not. They looked porous, but one of those games happened to be against Kentucky. If they were playing anybody else last night, that's a loss. And now, to the point, now you head to Starkville, Mississippi State, and they're a much better team than Kentucky is. Then your next road game is Georgia. So the road doesn't get any easier after Kentucky. It gets tougher on the road for the Longhorns. And if they don't play an Oklahoma-level game in Starkville Saturday, it's going to be tough.
Yeah. And look, season on the brink for the Texas Longhorns, but they do emerge victorious. 5-2, move on after a week after moving the ball up and down the field on 3 consecutive drives, really 4 on the Oklahoma Sooners. Texas cannot do anything all night against the Kentucky Wildcats last night. All right, for Gerry Hamilton, as well as our producer, Matt Hutchison, I'm Bobby Burton. We'll have more later today on Texas football. Hook 'em.